Hey everybody, I thought I'd just make a quick video to talk about something that just came to my mind as I was reading comments. And Love Mac, my friend Amy, asked me a comment about horror movies, but specifically about Japanese horror movies like The Ring and stuff like that. And my response was that I hadn't seen too many of them, but the ones that I had seen didn't scare me too much because they tend to have the typical Japanese style, which is the horror is so much derived from the intense buildup, the anticipation, and sometimes when it gets to the actual event, it seems rather contrived. Not that Freddy Krueger is any less contrived, and doesn't capture my attention so much, my interest. Compare that to something like I can't think of any titles. It's been so long. I've been out of horror for so long, but I listen to horror podcasts sometimes. I don't watch horror movies very much anymore, but I do listen to horror podcasts, like the stuff over at Pseudopod, Mur Lafferty's project. Incredible stuff over there. And the stuff, I wish I could remember some of the titles. It's really, really engaging stuff. Anyway, it kind of draws my interest a bit greater. So I wasn't able to answer Amy's question very well. But the thing I wanted to elaborate upon was a little story, a little anecdote related to my father. Now, when I was in my 20s, I really loved horror. I would go and rent I think you could rent videos back then. I couldn't remember. Was that before? I would watch or rent every horror movie I could. I really found them very interesting. And then one incident happened in 1991, late 1991, I think it was. I was down visiting my father, and his buddy Wildman and his wife Debbie were around, and we were going to go see it. Wildman suggested we see a movie, Silence of the Lambs, which isn't really horror. It's more drama with a bit of horror in it. And I was surprised because my dad said, no, thank you. I'm not going to go home. And he just said, oh, I'll just stay here. You guys go. Gary really wanted to see it. So I went with Gary and Debbie, and we sat there and we enjoyed the movie, sort of. It was pretty intense, and if you haven't seen it. And my dad stayed home and enjoyed a quiet evening all alone with his books, his television, and a couple of cans of beer. Processing tea back there. It's my wife's uncle's in the Community Collective Tea Farm. It's his truck right there. Later, I talked to my dad about it. My dad and I, at this time of this year, that year, the immediate years preceding that, he had this little, like a den area, and he had 2 chairs there, and the TV, very comfy. And he and I got in the habit of having late night chats, late night being about 10 or 11 o'clock until past midnight, 1 o'clock or so. And we had some of the greatest conversations sitting around. And that evening, well, it was quiet. The whole house was quiet. Just a little light on there, and we sat there talking. And I asked Dad about, why didn't you want to go with us tonight? And he said he said that he had had enough of horror. That he said there was enough of the real stuff. I mean, this sounds kind of like, canned ideas, but the look in his eyes, he said there's enough of that kind of stuff in the real world, and he doesn't have time or the inclination anymore to watch that kind of stuff. Now, he didn't know, and I didn't know, that he had less than a year to live. And he was actually months away from death at that point. He died suddenly of a heart attack in a very beautiful location with Gary and Debbie and his love of his life, Sandy. And after he died, every time I've come to the horror section at the at the video store, or I see an advertisement for horror or anything like that, I remember his words and how he had so precious little time remaining, and that he chose to engage that time in what he considered to be more positive things. And I can never look at horror the same way. I listen to podcasts because sometimes the podcasts are they're different type of. The stuff over at Pseudopod, for example, pseudopod.org, the stuff on Pseudopod isn't your Freddy Krueger, blood and axe and gores and canned story and over again. It's more like, what's that guy's name? The 19th century author, what was that guy's name? Lovecraft. It's more like Lovecraftian stuff. I mean, really, really engaging from really incredible minds, and it really twisting reality and ideas and imagery, and the amount of actual blood and gore is limited. I mean, one of the greatest stories that I remember from that was hearing recently, because they read the podcast, of course, was about the perspective of Igor, so to speak. And it wasn't done with all the cliches. It was the creature in the castle waiting for the master to come back, and how he'll be punished if he does wrong, and the like, and the beast that has been created, the monster creature, and his perspectives on it. Oh God, the way it was written, amazing, touching. So there we go, Amy. I hope I'm sorry I couldn't satisfy your interest in my opinion about Japanese horror, but I hopefully maybe a chance to thank you for the opportunity to share a little story about my own experiences with horror, my current interest in horror. I highly recommend pseudopod.org. Mur Lafferty is a genius, and the authors that she rounds up for her weekly podcasts are simply amazing. Go check it out, pseudopod.org. I can't spell it. I don't know how to spell pseudo anymore. Starts with a P, I think. And there you go. And hopefully you enjoy some of my dad's thoughts about how to spend time. Take care, everybody. And I'm going to spend time walking through this Shrine Gate as I head to the post office. I'm taking my family clothes shopping. We're going to America in August, and we need some duds. See you later.